Welcome to our journey through deep time. Imagine a world of hot sun and endless sand, pictural and between two great rivers. This place was Mesopotamia thousands of years ago. It served as the true center of the world then. In the vast desert, a mighty city stood tall. It was Babylon, known for its gold and high walls. People claimed its walls were wide enough for the chariots to pass. Yet, among all that stone and gold, a whisper remained. It spoke of something impossible and strangely green. Something soft grew in the heart of hard stone. Folklore told stories of a garden suspended in the sky. It was never a garden on the ground. We call it the Hanging Gardens of Babylon today. It ranks among the 7 wonders of the ancient world. For many, it remains the most beautiful mystery in history. But did it really exist, or was it just a dream? Think about that for a moment. Imagine a mountain of flowers rising in a dry desert. How could it survive without water? We breathe in the hot, dry air of Babylon, feeling the hard ground beneath our feet. Legends whisper of a secret paradise hidden within these ancient stones. The year is 600 BC, and King Nebuchadnezzar's I rules a city of gold and fame. Yet the king carries a heavy heart, because his queen, Amytis, is deeply sad. Amytis comes from Media, a land of green mountains, cool air, and frequent rain. In Babylon, she stares at the flat yellow desert and misses the smell of wet earth. The king decides to build a garden to bring her home without her leaving the city. This story begins not with war or conquest, but with a quiet moment of loneliness in a crowded hall. You might think a ruler with endless power and gold never knows such pain. But even the mightiest emperors can feel small when their world feels wrong. Amytis looked out her window and saw only dust instead of rain. She remembered the sound of water falling on leaves in her homeland. Her heart grew heavy under the weight of a sky that never rained. Nebuchadnezzar watched her silence and understood her silent plea. He knew she could not return to her home, yet he also knew she could not stay broken. So he made a choice that would change history forever. He would create a new world inside the city walls. He would plant trees where there were none before. He would bring the rain and the green hills right to herd ore. This was not just a project for stone and soil. It was an act of love born from deep sorrow. The garden would be a bridge between two very different lands. It would hold the memory of the forest she missed so dearly. We stand here today to hear the full truth behind this miracle. We will see how a simple feeling of homesickness built one of the greatest wonders ever seen. The stones tell us about the king, but the garden tells us about the heart. Are you ready to walk through the gates of this living memory? We stand on the edge of a massive stone city, breathing thick dust from ancient times. The king did not build this fortress for personal glory or to show off power. He did not build it for war or to crush enemies with iron and fire. He built it entirely for love. A deep, quiet sadness fills the air as we hear his secret plan. He wanted to heal a broken heart with green walls and living trees. The king envisions a garden, so incredibly high it seems to touch the distant stars. He imagines lush greenery. That perfectly mirrors the majestic mountains of Media far away. We picture thousands of workers and architects pushing the impossible to make reality. They worked with rough tools while smelling dry earth and feeling cold stone. The king told them to make the impossible come true without any doubt. His only goal was to see his queen smile once more after her long suffering. He wanted her to walk freely among the trees while living in the city of stone. This was his promise to bring nature into the heart of the empire. He believed that beauty could fix what politics could not repair. The workers labored in silence, driven by a vision that defied all logic. Soon the walls would rise, blocking the harsh sun and the noise of battle. We watch as the greenery slowly covers the gray stone, creating a paradise. The queen would step out and feel the breeze without ever leaving the capital. We stand before a legend of a gift, a forest built where nature refuses to grow. Awe mixes with tension as we face a massive engineering challenge against the cruel elements. The king demanded a lush forest in a dry land that almost never receives rain. Engineers faced the burning sun, while performing the impossible task of keeping trees alive. The word hanging is a trick used by ancient storytellers to describe these structures. These were not ropes suspending greenery, but high-stoned terraces built over a palace. Think of big balconies forming steps on a giant staircase made of solid rock. Each step was filled to support the heavy weight of plants. This construction method was extremely difficult for any team to attempt successfully. Water would usually leak through the porous stone and ruin the buildings below. They stopped the leak with layers of reeds and bitumen to seal the cracks. Bitumen is like natural tar that hardens into a waterproof barrier against moisture. They also used lead sheets to protect the structure from internal water damage. They had to be very careful because the entire project relied on perfect sealing. If the water leaked, the palace foundation would fall and the city would suffer. This delicate balance between nature and architecture defined the wonder's existence. Without these complex layers, the gardens would have collapsed into ruin quickly. We face a silent crisis. The life-giving Euphrates River lies far below, yet crops stand thirsty on high slopes. How do we bridge this impossible gap? Historians believe they used a special machine. A massive chain pump solved the problem. Two large wooden wheels turned slowly in the hot sun. A heavy iron chain looped tightly between them. Small buckets hung from this endless loop. They dipped into cool, glistening river water. Then they climbed the endless, grinding ascent. Slaves, or animals, provided the relentless turning power. Their backs strained under the heavy task. The wheels ground against the earth with a deep rumble. You can hear the splash of water rising steadily. Sweat beads on the brows of the laborers. Wooden buckets splashed against the iron links. Water climbed higher and higher against gravity. It defied the pull of the earth itself. The mechanism worked with mechanical precision. Every turn lifted another load of life. The parched soil waited for this salvation. This simple machine changed everything for the farmers. They no longer feared the dry season. Green crops finally received their drink. The chain never stopped its upward journey. It carried hope to the highest peaks. This is how history feeds humanity. We still see the logic in our taps today. Close your eyes and listen to the rhythmic crash of water hitting stone. Then feel the cool mist rising against the burning heat of the desert. This ancient system was not magic. It was pure, calculated engineering designed to conquer an impossible environment. Listen closely to the sound of water flowing into small streams that carved their path down the terraced walls. These channels did not simply drain the land. They fed the roots of every single tree planted there with precision. In a land defined by dust, these people created a waterfall that never ran dry. In a landscape of brown earth, they forged a thriving forest from nothing. It took years of relentless hard work to build such a miracle. Thousands of men carried heavy stones across rough terrain without modern tools. They brought exotic plants from faraway lands to this barren wasteland. They were building a dream that defied all natural laws. They were changing the very face of the desert forever. Can you see the tall walls rising up against the wind? Can you see the first green leaves appearing against the blue sky? This was a machine that created life where none existed before. Every drop of water was a victory against scarcity. Every stone placed was a step toward survival. Human effort transforms nature over time. We must understand how the system worked to appreciate its legacy. The water flowed down, nourishing the soil below. The trees grew tall, providing shade and food. The community flourished within this green sanctuary. History records this feat as a testament to resilience. It proves that humanity can reshape its world. We still learn from this ancient wisdom today. Close your eyes and breathe slowly to calm your mind before the journey begins. Imagine you are a weary traveler who has walked across a burning desert for weeks without rest. You are exhausted by the heat and desperate from the lack of water. Suddenly, you see the massive walls of Babylon rise up before your eyes. Above the walls, you see something strange that defies normal logic. It looks like a green mountain floating in the air without any support. As you get closer to this impossible sight, you see the vibrant colors clearly. There are bright red flowers blooming in the high heat of the sun. There are deep purple vines hanging over the cold stone walls above you. The air starts to change completely as you step into the magical zone. It is no longer dry and dusty like the rest of the harsh desert. It feels cool and refreshing against your hot and sweaty skin. It smells like fresh roses and wet grass after a long summer rain. You walk into the gardens, and the sounds of nature fill your ears. You hear the sound of water flowing gently through the stone channels. It is a soft musical sound that soothes your tired and stressed soul. Small waterfalls drop from one level to the next in a steady rhythm. The water sparkles like diamonds in the bright and blinding sun above. There are tall palm trees providing deep shade from the scorching rays. There are fruit trees with sweet oranges and figs ready to be eaten. You see Queen Amyt walking there with a gentle and kind smile. She is smiling now after a long time of sadness and worry. She feels the cool breeze on her face and lets out a sigh. It is a paradise created by human hands in the middle of nowhere. It is an oasis of life in the center of a deadly wasteland. The gardens were 75 feet high, which is very tall for that time. That is like a modern building with 5 or 6 floors stacked up. Every level had different plants, order, and harmony. Some were small flowers that added color to the green landscape. Others were giant trees with thick trunks that reached for the sky. People in the streets below looked up in awe at the green leaves. They saw the green leaves waving in the wind from far away. To them, it looked like magic from a distant and holy land. Imagine standing where a green mountain once stood, now just dust. Beauty fades like time itself. What happened to this lost wonder? Our story turns into a deep mystery. We have many old tales about these gardens. Greek and Roman writers described them in great detail. They spoke of beauty and clever machines, but there is a big problem waiting. Archaeologists searched ancient Babylon for years. They dug deep into the earth with care. They found the palace standing firm. They found the great stone walls. But they did not find the gardens. No mention of them exists in Babylonian records from that time. King Nebuchadnezzar wrote about many things. He wrote about temples and his pride. He wrote about walls and power, but he never mentioned a garden for his queen. Wait, how can that be? How can a wonder of the world be invisible? Some experts think Greek writers just told stories. Maybe they saw a garden and made them sound magical. Other experts have a different idea entirely. A few years ago, researcher Stephanie Daly suggested something new. She thinks the gardens were not in Babylon at all. She believes they were in a city called Nineveh. Nineveh was the Assyrian capital long ago. There, records show a great king named Sennacherib. He built a massive garden and with a complex water system. Could ancient writers have mixed up the two cities? It happened often in history. Or maybe the gardens were in Babylon, but destroyed. They were gone before anyone could record them. This uncertainty teaches us a lasting truth. We must question what we think we know. History often mixes cities and legends without warning. The missing guard reminds us truth is hard to hold. It slips away like sand through our fingers. We carry this fragility in our own lives today. We chase beauty and lose it quickly. Ancient gardens are gone, but their lesson remains clear. We build our own gardens of love and memory. We water them with hope, yet fear the storm. Will our creations survive the winds of change? The answer is not simple. It is fragile, just like the past.